In the years after the American Civil War, the United States was a country divided not only by memory and politics, but by geography. The East was crowded with factories, cities, rail lines, and millions of people. The West was wild, open, and nearly unreachable mountains, deserts, and vast plains stretching thousands of miles. Traveling from New York to California could take 6 months, and many never survived the journey. But in 1862, in the middle of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln approved a dream that had seemed impossible for decades. A railroad that would stretch from ocean to ocean, binding the wounded nation together with steel. Few realized it would become one of the most daring engineering projects in world history, the Transcontinental Railroad. 2 companies were chosen to build it, the Union Pacific, starting from Omaha, Nebraska, and the Central Pacific, beginning in Sacramento, California. Their tracks would meet somewhere in the vast emptiness of the American frontier. The task was staggering. Workers would face blizzards, scorching heat, starvation, attacks, mountains of solid granite, and deadly explosions. But they pushed forward mile by mile, spike by spike. The Union Pacific hired thousands of Civil War veterans, Irish immigrants, freedmen, and desperate laborers looking for a better life. Their greatest threats weren't mountains. They were the endless plains. The men laid track through buffalo herds, crossed rivers with makeshift bridges, and lived in rough frontier towns where saloons and gunfights were nightly events. Outlaws robbed the payroll trains, and Native American tribes, seeing the railroad as an invasion of their land, launched fierce raids. Meanwhile, the Central Pacific faced an even greater challenge: the Sierra Nevada mountains. The granite was so hard that workers could sometimes only advance a few inches per day. Snowstorms buried camps, avalanches swept away equipment, and temperatures dropped so low that men froze where they stood. To overcome these brutal conditions, the Central Pacific turned to a workforce nearly everyone else ignored: Chinese immigrants. These men, paid less and treated unfairly, became the backbone of the western half of the railroad. They blasted tunnels through solid rock, hung from ropes over cliffs to place explosives, and carved pathways where engineers said no human could climb. Their courage and discipline impressed even their harshest bosses. By 1867, as many as 12,000 Chinese workers labored in the mountains. Their contribution, long overlooked, remains one of the greatest engineering feats in American history. Every mile of track meant more than progress, it meant connection. Now, ranchers could sell cattle to distant cities. Settlers could travel west in days, not months. Soldiers could be deployed quickly, mail could move overnight, and new states could grow faster than ever before. For the first time, America truly felt like one nation. The 2 companies raced toward each other, driven by government payments that rewarded each completed mile. Competition turned fierce. Crews laid track through blizzards, sandstorms, and dangerous canyons. At their fastest speed, workers of the Union Pacific set a world record: 10 miles of track in a single day. Finally, on May 10, 1869, the dream became real. At Promontory Summit in Utah, leaders from both rail companies gathered for the ceremony. In front of reporters and cheering crowds, they hammered the famous golden spike into the final rail. Telegraph wires instantly carried one simple message across the country: done. For the first time in history, a person could travel from New York to California in just 7 days. Merchandise crossed the continent in a week instead of half a year. Family members separated by thousands of miles could finally reunite. The railroad transformed the West, helped populate new states, boosted the economy, and created the modern American nation.
But the story isn't only one of triumph.
Native American tribes suffered greatly as settlers flooded their lands. The buffalo nearly went extinct, and cultures that had existed for centuries were pushed aside. The railroad built America, but it also changed it forever. Still, the achievement remains one of the boldest in human history. It took soldiers, immigrants, freedmen, engineers, and laborersmen who shared neither language nor culture to complete a dream larger than any one of them. They battled mountains, weather, distance, and danger to unite a fractured country. The Transcontinental Railroad wasn't just a transportation system. It was a symbol of unity, a promise that America could overcome its divides, and a steel thread stitching a continent into a single nation.